Good afternoon to you. 506 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up, 5:30, we'll talk to Nathan Brinkman with EdReform Virginia about School Choice Week and a big event tomorrow night with a familiar WMAL host. You want to hear about that coming up? And you can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. It'd be great to have you with us. Yeah, lawsuits. They're all the rage these days, especially if they're directed at people in and around Donald Trump's orbit. And among the people being sued by the left is my next guest. His name is Garrett Ziegler. He's a founder of a great website called Polo. There you can find the contents of Hunter Biden's infamous laptop. But he's also a former deputy to Trump White House advisor Peter Navarro, who's also being subjected to legal problems of his own this week by the left. Garrett, good to have you with us. Thank you so much for taking some time, sir.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate this.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, this reminds me of that famous Marx quote about to each according to his ability, to each according to his need. That's what they're sort of doing with DJT. He has the ability to pay $83 million to a crazed lunatic woman, and then Peter, is sentenced to 4 months in prison, and I, as the young guy, can barely hold off all these lawsuits. So it's a multi-vector attack, and like you said, it's disgusting.
It is disgusting. So let's help people understand what's happening in your saga. Give us a sense of what the Marco Polo website is and what you set up for people, and how Hunter Biden responded to it.
Yes. So this C3, Marco Polo is a 501c3 nonprofit, was set up in July of 21 with the principal purpose being we were going to go through every file on the laptop and write a comprehensive report, sort of like a congressional subcommittee would write. That was the vision. And so on this website, you can see and download all 128,000 emails from the Biden laptop. You can view and download all 10,000 photos, sans duplicates, with genitalia redacted, which will come up later because it's actually in a part of our lawsuit is that they're alleging we altered data and all we did was redact genitalia. So in a weird way, Hunter Biden's lawyers are arguing that we should be in the business of displaying Hunter Biden's genitalia.
Right. So your act of your which was generous of you. I don't think you had to do this, but your act of privacy of giving him some privacy protection, they're construing that as you're manipulating the data for some nefarious purpose?
It's totally ridiculous. The reason why we wanted to redact the genitalia, and there's also Joe's daughter-in-law has naked pictures. We're not in the business of distributing pornography. The only reason why we're even going through this laptop in the first place is because it's a public interest. This is the first family of the United States, and so we display the criminality, which is solicitation of prostitutes, but we don't show the actual genitalia, which we think is responsible.
That's decent of you.
They have so little to go off of, and their lawfare is so desperate that they're saying this violates a civil code in California for deceptive business practices. So I want all your listeners to know that Abby Lowell, who makes about $1,600 an hour, he's Hunter Biden's attorney, he is arguing in open court that he wants his client's genitalia to be revealed. By its essence, that's what he's saying. It's utterly preposterous. But that's
crazy. So what do you think the point of this is? If you didn't actually, break any laws and actually you went out of your way to protect Hunter's privacy in a meaningful way, then what is this? Is this just designed to bankrupt you, to make your life hell for sharing it with the public?
Totally. It's the vision I'm getting in my head is like a rubber band is stretched over a long, a long structure. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to stretch us so thin to where we back off. And again, this is what I think they're doing with my former boss, Peter Navarro, and DJT to a much greater and criminal extent. Luckily, we haven't been raided yet. James O'Keefe, the gentleman who was basically going through Ashley Biden's abandoned diary.
Yes.
They raided him in November of 21. And so I'm just grateful that they haven't raided me yet, although I've gotten multiple visits from the Secret Service. Totally ridiculous, Vince. They said that us sending a copy of our report was inappropriate. So we're in a country right now where they're saying it's inappropriate for writers and authors to send verifiable evidence of criminal activity to law enforcement.
Wait,
That's the upside down world we're living in.
Help me. I'm sorry. Can you walk me through that and with any specifics? Yes. The Secret Service visited you to tell you that your behavior was inappropriate? That seems like, a weird. They were scolding you? What was happening?
Yes. So as I mentioned, Marco Polo was founded in 21. We released this very long report in October of 22 and have since made physical copies of it. We had a printing company print, 15,000 copies. We've given 12,000 out. Our online read review, I want everybody who's listening to know that they can go read this report for free at bidenreport.com. And what we've done is we've sent physical copies of the report to all the U.S. attorneys in the jurisdictions in which Hunter Biden committed felonies. And these felonies range the gamut from FARA violations, money laundering, sex trafficking, 4 cases of sex trafficking, not underage women, but of age prostitutes. And we sent a copy to a Secret Service agent, and they said that was inappropriate. So now they're trying to basically, they know that what we did was not a statute violation, but they literally told my attorney that I'm on their list. So this is what happens when you remember when Joe had that hot mic incident in Florida. He said no one F's with a Biden. We are getting the brunt of that. This is what happens when you quote F with a Biden.
Did the Secret Service physically visit you, or was this conveyed some other way?
Yep, physically visited me. And then after I gave them the name and number of my counsel, they proceeded to go to my parents' house. And then they ended up calling my wife that night at 6:30 p.m.
What did they say? So
these people have they left a voicemail because they always call from a restricted number and they want to talk to them. So basically, this is their just non-violent way to let me know that they're watching me. And again, this is soft tyranny. I'm not alleging that they're doing. They put my former boss in leg irons. So I'm not saying I have it as bad as Peter. But nevertheless, this is just a soft tyranny and Joe's people let you know that you're being watched. It's total clown world. But again, our mission and background has been very transparent. All we've done is write this report on the laptop. And I think the reason why they're going after us is because other news outlets, including the Daily Caller, have been righteously utilizing these email databases to write stories. Because all these people in the laptop, from Anthony Blinken on, they have emails on this device. And so what these other news outlets will do, they'll hyperlink the specific email that's on our database into their story. And so this is just Hunter and Abby Lowell and Kevin Morris's attempt to go after the source of the problem. And they view our righteous reporting as their problem.
They want to intimidate anybody who might report on this as well from getting anywhere near it. Absolutely.
Yes.
So how else has this impacted your life? This is a big deal. I mean, you've got a lot of money on Hunter Biden's side of this equation. What about you? What has this done to you and your well-being?
Well, let's put it this way. In 2022, Marco Polo's entire C3 budget, which again is a couple employees, a lot of independent contractors, 3 board members, a very, very small nonprofit. We're not the size of, say, like Judicial Watch. There's no development department. We're very small, and our entire budget for 22 was $195,000. For 23 alone, we had to spend over $200,000 on attorneys. $200,000. Because along with this federal lawsuit from Hunter in California, his sugar brother, the bong smoker who appeared in front of Congress last week, he sued us in April of 2023 in California state court. Now, he committed perjury in his congressional testimony. He said that they won every motion. That is not true. One of our anti-SLAPP causes of action was dismissed, and so Kevin Morris, pending appeal, actually owes us about $45,000 in legal fees. So he committed perjury. So beyond those 2 lawsuits, Vince, we've also been written about to 6 different government agencies. Abby Lowell has tried to get an inspector general's investigation started about me, specifically at the Treasury Department, because we put suspicious activity reports about Hunter Biden up on our website. Everybody who's listening can go to bidensars.com, and you can read 5 SARs that talk about Hunter Biden's money laundering and sex trafficking. And he wants to criminalize that.
Yes. Now, what you just said a moment ago, though, was that you only raised a certain amount of money and your legal expenses exceeded that.
Yes.
So I'm detecting a math problem. How are you covering that?
Well, thank goodness in 23 our donations were much larger than in 22. So let's put it this way. We've been in the black by the skin of our teeth.
Got it.
Partly because, we're trying to rewrite the rules of the fundraising game, in that we're trying to do a ton of people for small dollar gifts instead of a few people large dollar gifts. We think that the only thing, let's put it this way, the only thing we have on the Bidens, our little group, is strength in numbers. Kevin Morris has about $100 million. He's always going to beat us in just pure cash. The only thing we have is numbers. And so we're trying, we have about 250,000 people who follow us on social media, and we're trying to, raise that number up.
So, and they're grateful for the resource that you've created, and they're rallying to your defense in light of these attacks.
Precisely.
Okay.
Yeah, precisely. And precisely because we put everything out there, right? The email site that I alluded to has been up almost 2 years. We put it up May of 22. And my friend Mike McCormick, who I know has been on this program, he uses it every single day. In fact, he's like our litmus test. If I get a Telegram message from him, he's like, "Hey, the site's down. Something will be wrong with the server," but he'll realize the site's down within like an hour.
He's quality control.
We've had 7 million unique IP addresses. So they absolutely hate that this is readily available. That's what part of their relief in the lawsuits is, not only punitive damages for me personally and my group, it's to take the websites down. That is their dream, is to have a FBI seizure warning on BidenLaptopEmails.com.
It's a censorship lawsuit, for sure. So let me get to a breaking news headline on this whole saga, because I didn't realize this until I saw it in the Daily Caller. James Lynch reporting. Judge presiding over Hunter Biden's lawsuit against Garrett Ziegler, the man I'm speaking to right now, donated to the Biden campaign. So the federal judge for the Central District of California, Hernan D. Vera, the judge was nominated by President Biden in September of 2021. He was confirmed in 23. He donated to the Biden campaign on multiple occasions, and he is presiding over Hunter's lawsuit against you?
Yes, sir. And his lawsuit against Rudy Giuliani and Bob Costello, the latter of which I consider a friend, and they're both in the same district, Central District of California. And, this isn't chump change either. Vera has given, at the very least, this is a floor. It might even be more than this with Act Blue. But as a floor, he gave $1,600 to Joe. And Joe had to nominate Vera 3 different times. So Hernan Vera went to the Senate 3 different times. The first 2, the Senate didn't move on it, and so his nomination was sent back to the White House. So what does this mean? This means that Joe really wants this guy there. Coincidentally, his ex-spouse, Vera's ex-spouse, is Joe's acting Secretary of Labor. Julie Sue is the mother of this guy's children. So our judge was married to Joe's Secretary of Labor. And again, there's even controversy around Julie Sue, his ex-spouse, because she was the Deputy Secretary of Labor, and now she hasn't been formally nominated, but she's the acting. Yeah. So
okay. So are you challenging the fact that this judge is on this case? Are you and what are the chances that you can get a change of judge here?
I don't know the answer to the second question. The first question is yes, we are going to challenge it. And again, the federal statute governing possible recusal is the reasonable person standard. The exact language, I did pull it up for the interview. The exact language is a reasonable person may question the impartiality of the judge. And I think it's totally within reason to question the partiality.
Yeah, if you fund the plaintiff's father's political career, you should not be involved in the case. Seems pretty obvious.
Totally. And again, this isn't a case of, let's say that Hunter is accusing me of, leaving ruts in his yard, right? Like this isn't totally unrelated to the current impeachment inquiry. I should have started out with that. That's going to be one of our arguments, that the material that is on our email site that they're suing us over, which is, again, we're so totally protected by the First Amendment and reporter's privilege that it's ridiculous. But again, this cost us tens of thousands of dollars just to defend ourselves.
Yes.
But the impeachment inquiry could be implicated or vice versa by this proceeding. So it's not, like I said, Hunter can't
So,
stay.
and as always, I mean, the whole point of the laptop is it's about Joe Biden's behavior fundamentally.
Yes.
And so if
Precisely.
if you have a judge who donated to Joe Biden, what are the chances that that person is going to find your arguments in court worthwhile or do anything to give a fair trial to you? I mean, it's so crazy.
And just to add to this, the devil's advocate does not work in their favor this time. For example, Hernan worked for years at a left-wing nonprofit law firm called Public Counsel, which files all these amicus briefs about the illegal aliens. And so this is not a disinterested guy. Like, for example, if he was just a standard Democrat who worked in private practice for 25 years, right, and then got appointed, that would be a different calculation. But this guy his wife was appointed by Gavin Newsom as the health or the labor secretary for California. So these are very, very connected people. This isn't, Garrett Ziegler and Marco Polo being unfair. No, this guy has ties not directly but indirectly to the La Raza group. I'm sure you know about them.
Yeah, they're big illegal immigrant guys.
They're basically racialist people, much more than what they accuse, white people of being.
Well, yeah,
so
I mean the name of the organization is The Race. It's pretty explicit. Yeah.
So again, this is in a sane world. This is dismissed immediately. Our hearing is scheduled. Yeah, and our hearing scheduled for March. They put this suit on us in September.
Got it.
We responded in December, but again, we want all the help we can get, and the best way is to get our email database out there. BidenLaptopEmails.com. All the pictures can be found at BidenLaptopMedia.com.
Got it.
And then our legal defense fund is FightBiden.org. But again, all of this stuff, like you said, it's about Joe. Hunter is just a sideshow. We, at the end of the day, don't care about Hunter. We care about Joe running a global FARA-violating scheme. That's essentially what it was. And your
legal case. And your legal case has all the familiar markings of corruption that so many of these cases do. Hey, Garrett Ziegler, thank you very much. We'll have to talk to you again soon. Best of luck, sir. Thank you very much. If you'd like to end the stupidity in the school system, maybe give families a choice about where they send their kids to school. It's School Choice Week. Nathan Brinkman will join us coming up next with a big event that you can be a part of tomorrow night involving a very special WMAL host. That's ahead.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Well, good afternoon to you. 5:35 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we are making sense of the news. You can join us today at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Join this jam-packed program today. If you like free barbecue and getting some of your money back from the government to send your kid to the school of your choice, boy, you're going to love the event I'm about to tell you about. Nathan Brinkman joins me now, the Executive Director of EdReform Virginia, on this School Choice Week. Nathan, great to have you with us, sir.
Vince, it's great to be on the program. Happy School Choice Week to you and all of your listeners.
Likewise. Tell me about School Choice Week. How long has this been going on? It feels like it's been going on forever, and it's sort of a great opportunity to talk about like a way out from all of this chaos in our schools.
Yeah, it's a project of the National School Choice Awareness Foundation. I believe the week has been observed annually since 2011.
Yeah. Well, it's very worthwhile. I mean, it gets great people together fighting for a good cause. So there's a big event taking place tomorrow night in Virginia. What can you tell us?
That's right. It's at Rockland's Barbecue. We'll have the second floor all to ourselves. To learn more or to RSVP, you just have to go to School Choice VA. That's schoolchoiceva.com. We just ask that you RSVP so we have enough food for everyone, but it is otherwise free and open to the public.
Yeah, and it's a bunch of great patriots all showing up, eating delicious barbecue, and it's also a good opportunity to meet other like-minded Americans who would like to, again, kind of confront what's happening in our schools. And I should also point out that The world-class Julie Gunlock will be there tomorrow night and speaking to the crowd. And you please don't miss an opportunity to go and say hello to Julie Gunlock. She's totally worthwhile.
Yes, I can confirm Julie will be one of our featured speakers. She's always a treat. And we'll also be hearing from Derek Max, the president of the Thomas Jefferson Institute for Public Policy, a very good think tank that we are blessed to have here in Virginia as well.
So, in your view, Nathan, how different would the world look right now if parents could actually send their kids to the school of their choice?
It would be a game changer. It would put parents in the driver's seat. And who knows the needs of a child better than his or her mom or dad?
Mm-hmm.
I think also beyond giving kids an escape route from schools that might not be meeting their needs for a variety of reasons, school choice offers a very rare win-win that you don't often see in the world of public policy, which is typically a win-lose zero-sum game wherein one side is happy and the other isn't. With universal school choice, wherein educational tax dollars follow the child to a school of his or her parents' choice, we could all have it our way, so to speak. Whether you are politically or culturally on the right, left, or center, you can find a school that is in alignment with your family's most deeply held values. And I think that is a way to diffuse these culture wars that we've seen raging across the nation, but especially here in Northern Virginia. We've sort of become infamous for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
The problem is the current system. It pits us against each other. It's a system wherein people jockey to impose their values, their preferences, their will on others. And obviously, one side, particularly if you're in the minority, is going to be unhappy. With school choice, we can all have it our way, and maybe, just maybe, we can go back to being friends and neighbors again, notwithstanding any disagreements we might otherwise have.
I remember when this issue really started to take off. At first, it seemed like there were very few opponents. It was like everyone was like, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Of course that would be good. And in fact, a lot of poorer black families were attracted to this. I remember in the early days of it. But then the teachers' unions got involved, and they shut all of it down. They made it seem like this is some crazy right-wing idea that we would have money follow students to success.
Right. And they love to claim it would defund our public schools. I find it amusing when they lead with that talking point, which they typically do, because the only way school choice could even conceivably defund the public government-run schools the unions tout is if parents freely and independently made a determination that those schools don't meet their kids' needs.
Yeah. So in other words, if the schools are failing, they don't get the money.
That's right. That's exactly right. So when the defenders of the educational status quo rail against and fearmonger against school choice, they betray a certain lack of confidence in the very schools that they espouse as the best.
That's right. Like if they were convinced that they were running the best schools, they would be like, oh, yeah, bring it on. Well, yeah, more money for us? That sounds fantastic. Let's do that. You're right. That once you start complaining about it, it's a real signal of how weak your position is.
Yeah, clearly they have a visceral fear of competition. If you are confident in the product that you are offering the marketplace, you wouldn't have to erect barriers to entry for competitors, and you certainly wouldn't have to demand a de facto monopoly on government money to fund whatever it is you're selling.
Yeah. Just such good points. All right. Well, Nathan Brinkman, again, Executive Director of EdReform Virginia. The event is tomorrow night, Saturday night at 6:30 p.m. Rockland's Barbecue in Arlington. The space, I understand, is limited, and the food, you want to make sure you have enough in terms of quantity. So people have to RSVP. Where can they do that?
That's right. Schoolchoiceva.com. That's schoolchoiceva.com.
All right, awesome. Thank you very much, Nathan Brinkman. Good to talk to you today, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Vince.
All right, let's see here. Let's go to the phones. Our friend Jason is calling in from Kensington now on line 1. Jason, good afternoon, sir. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hey, g'day, Vince. So, yeah, sort of flashing back to my school days in Australia. It's so different out there because a lot of schools are government subsidised, but you do have a choice of where you want to go. And even though you might go to a state school, they still have uniforms. And also, too, there's more choice. Like, it's not like they push you to go to college. It's like, okay, you might be suited to a trade or whatever. So you sort of get more individualism out there. And it seems like out here it's sort of like cookie-cutter school, and there's a lot of pressure on kids to sort of go down one path, and that's about it. And
do you find that model works better, Jason?
Oh, it does. It really does, because it's almost like you've got such a strong trade movement in Australia, and you haven't got kids that are sort of in jobs that they don't necessarily or careers that they want to pursue. It's sort of like they find out early in the piece what they want to do, and I just found it a lot less pressure, and also the option is there. There's no pressure on you. If you don't want to go to university, that's okay. You're going to be fine.
Right.
There's all this pressure on kids, I find here, and also the cost is enormous over here.
And the product on the college front, the product has been disastrous. So what have we done? We've forced all of these kids into these schools. Many of them are propagandizing those students. They end up going into the workforce and dementing the whole thing, unfortunately. And in addition to that, a lot of these young people end up getting saddled with so much debt, they end up having to pay, 30-year mortgages, essentially, in order to pay them off. And that's because the school systems, especially at the higher education levels, they're so expensive and out of control because of the government subsidies that they've been outpacing inflation by leaps and bounds for many years. The whole thing is deeply corrupt, and it doesn't actually produce a good product. No,
and that's the thing. It's all geared towards kids pretty much knowing they're going to be in debt for the rest of their life. It sort of goes from one level to the next, from your school to your mortgage or whatever, and it's all tied in with the banks as well. But I think that, old Pink Floyd's, leave those kids alone, sort of is coming really true.
Yeah, hey, teacher. Yeah. All right, Jason.
Anyway, thanks for having called.
Oh, man, of course, man. Have an excellent weekend. Thank you for the call, as always.
You too, mate.
That.
Okay, take care.
Jason in Kensington. All right. Hey, I've got a piece of breaking news for you that I thought I might share, considering it's a Friday. So it's a Friday, which means, of course, it's time for your Friday news dump from the Biden administration. Good old Bill Maloogian over at the Fox News Channel has been pointing out with some frequency over the past few days that the Biden administration some time ago was supposed to release the border crossing numbers from December. We are now at the end of January. This was supposed to be released a while ago. They did not release the data. And as Bill was emphasizing, they already had some internal leaks that the numbers were out of control, the total records here. And now we get the official confirmation of that. In December of 2023, Customs and Border Protection encountered 302,034 illegal foreign nationals on our border. 302,034. That is the highest number on record. Highest number on record. So yet again, another unfortunate record set by the Biden administration with these border crossing numbers. And yet another explanation for why all of these states need to band together and stand up for us, because this is it. This is what we've got. We've got a country, and we've got trying to hold on to it. We need our borders. We need our sovereignty. Let's do it. And you have 25 Republican governors all joining with Texas, ready to go. And at this hour, the good news today is it appears that the Border Patrol has indicated that, to Fox News at least, that they will not be removing or cutting through any of the concertina wire in Texas. The Border Patrol supports Texas, apparently, and says the only reason they're going to cut through is if there's a medical emergency of some kind. We don't know yet whether or not that is because of higher powers in the Biden administration. I don't know if the White House is on board with this. Perhaps there's a difference here between the Border Patrol and the White House. we certainly know that the rank and file among the Border Patrol support the concertina wire. So that's all very interesting. And remember, today was the deadline the Biden administration had imposed on Texas. They said, let the Border Patrol cut through everything. Let us have access to Shelby Park. Let us in. Let us know by Friday that that's happening. And Texas has said, no, that's not happening. And they've begun adding, I've seen numbers of upwards of 20 miles of border now. They're adding more and more concertina wire to block foreign nationals from invading the country. So that's great. So the governors are standing strong. Texas Governor Greg Abbott expanding his effort to try and get things under control. And the Biden administration trying to make things worse. And the press is, and I'll be interested to see to what extent this is true going into the Sunday shows, but the press is hectoring the Biden administration into federalizing the Texas National Guard. They're trying to get Andrew Feinberg is a reporter for The Independent. He was in the White House today, and he was angry at Karine Jean-Pierre that Biden hasn't done it yet. When is Biden going to federalize the National Guard? And then they lie about the circumstances. He said that Texas is flouting a Supreme Court ruling. That's not true at all. Texas is obviously living up to its constitutional obligations, but two, this week's Supreme Court case had nothing to do with Texas's behavior. That had everything to do with the federal government's behavior. So keep an eye on this story. I don't know how much more things are going to heat up here, but everybody who's involved in the actual law enforcement on the border, they seem to be getting along. So that's a good sign, actually. The Border Patrol, the DPS, Texas DPS, all of the other various states who've supplied law enforcement to the border, that includes Florida, have supplied law enforcement to the border. And then, of course, the Texas National Guard. They all seem to be working in concert together. They like working shoulder to shoulder. The Border Patrol seems happy with this arrangement. So that's all a sign that the temperature is at least coming down among all the guys with guns. They're all on the same side of this, which is great. That's a great, and luckily that's the right side, it seems like. But we'll see. We'll see what the Biden administration does. Remember, DHS, that's the key agency here, led by the worst DHS secretary in history, Alejandro Mayorkas. We have an out-of-control Justice Department under Merrick Garland, and certainly an out-of-control Biden administration under whoever's running it for Joe Biden. Just an endless list of breaking news today. But again, Donald Trump has to pay $83 million to E. Jean Carroll as a result of this defamation trial that just took place in New York. Remember the state of play here. She accuses him of rape originally. He denies it, so she sues him for defaming her for saying it's not true. And then the jury does not conclude in that first defamation case that Trump raped her. They said they couldn't find him liable for rape in that case. And then, subsequently, he once again disputes the claims against him. He says that didn't happen. So she sues him again, saying he defamed her again. And now the jury awards her $83+ million. Of course, the whole thing is funded by a Democrat donor, Reid Hoffman, designed to destroy Trump. So it's a scam. The whole thing is just one gigantic scam. Here's Trump's lawyer, Alina Habba, stepping outside the court today and kind of laying out what happened.
Ask me that question. No, I'm not having any second thoughts about representing President Trump. It is the proudest thing I could ever do. What I'm having second thoughts about is the license that I stand here with that the people in there are supposed to have. I have not spoken because I respect my ethics while I'm on trial. But let me now speak about what has happened. I have sat on trial after trial for months in this state, the state of New York. Attorney General Letitia James, and now this. Weeks. Why? Because President Trump is leading in the polls, and now we see what you get in New York. So don't get it twisted, whoever asked me that question. I am so proud to stand with President Trump. But I am not proud to stand with what I saw in that courtroom. I'm not finished. Let me just finish and I'll take questions, please. Before I walked into court, that judge decided that every single defense President Trump had, we were not allowed to raise in front of the jury.
True.
It is in writing, and I encourage the journalists, the real journalists, to take the minute to look at his orders.
Yeah, that is true. He wasn't allowed to raise a defense. His point is like, this never happened. This is crazy. What am I supposed to say? It never happened. He keeps saying, you're not allowed to say that, says the judge. What? What is this? And what is an $83 million judgment if not cruel and unusual. The whole thing is crazy. Donald Trump condemning it on Truth Social today as well. Very, very bad stuff. He said the judge denied him his constitutional right to due process to defend himself against this false accusation. Hey, stay with WMAL. The great one, Mark Levin, is up next.